We have a lot of Vim content and a lot of Svelte content on YouTube, but no real video that ties them both together. So I wanted to make a real quick going over my setup video. And this is going to be kind of high level. I'm going to assume you know basic Neovim package managers. I'm using Mason and LSP config to get most of this working. No formatter plugin, just the default Mason formatter installer. And that's pretty much it. And I won't do any like super advanced Svelte or anything. This is just my setup, but show don't tell, right? So I have this empty Svelte file. I've got completion, like the standard LSP stuff. So if I open up a script, you can see I just type TS and hit Control E for expand. That's my main snippet really. And I can start typing and get a nice little completion. And then I've got snippets for each, which is something in Svelte. So if I had like an array of 5 things, actually I'm gonna do in Vim 5a test comma close, and then I'll have a nice little array. And then I could do each r as a, and then in here just render a, and then we should see on the preview a gets rendered a few times. Very nice. And then I've got one for if too, and I've got one for await, so that's solid. And I'm also in here running Tailwind, of course, because everyone does that now. So if I have a div, which I can also just type each one and then expand, then I could start putting on, you know, text red 300, text for 3XL, and then A. And we should see that reflected. Beautiful. So that's all good. Then I've also got the Emmet snippets. If you don't know about these are very powerful. They're in pretty much every HTML modern IDE. So what you can do is say that I want a body with a main function or tag, body main, and then in there I want an unordered list, and in that list I want 10 list items. So I can do that with these kind of like brackets going into each other, and if I hit Control Y, it'll expand all of that. So that's very nice. If you don't know the basic Vim tag motions, it's also great to know those. So if I want to select this main, I can do V around tag, select that just like that. And then there's V inside of tag too, of course. And you can just change and delete, same as other motions. So that's all well and good. There's one problem you'll run into, most likely, and that's in Svelte and some other languages like Vue, I think, or not languages, but you know what I mean. You have like a library file that's just JavaScript or TypeScript, and then you have your main Svelte or Vue or whatever file. And you get this issue sometimes if you declare a variable in the library file. Like for me, it's in index.js. This is some other project I was working on. But when you try to change a variable and then re-import it in the Svelte, sometimes the variable will be correctly changed and you can use it, but your IDE will throw some errors. I fixed it, so I can't really show that here, but it's like missing import, and it's finding it all correctly. It's just like a false error. And that's because the language servers, Svelte and TypeScript language servers, sometimes don't know how to talk to each other. And I solved that through this GitHub issue I found in, this is my LSP config. So if I jump to Svelte, you can create this little auto command for post buffer write, and just for JavaScript and TypeScript. And what it does is it sends this $/ on did change TS or JS file. And I'm not exactly sure how that API works, but it syncs them up so you don't get that, which is just kind of a little annoying thing that you can see pop up occasionally. That's pretty much it. Specific language servers I'm using are, I think, LSP info will show that. Yes. The Svelte, the Tailwind CSS, TypeScript language server, and that's pretty much it. One more thing that's nice, if you're in a team with people who are against Tailwind, and those people are out there, unfortunately, but you're like me and you've used so much Tailwind you can't do normal CSS anymore, then there's this cool plugin called, I think it's TW2 CSS, and it lets you just type Tailwind in a CSS block, and then it'll expand it to normal CSS, which is kind of sad that that we've come to that, but you know, it is what it is. So if I type style and I want to make all these H1 behave like, I don't know, I want them all to be bold, instead of like typing out whatever the CSS equivalent, I can type font bold and then type Y, and it'll expand it for me through that little completion plugin. And over a long term, I guess I'd maybe get used to CSS again, but I'm never going to do that just because Tailwind is so fast. But yeah, hopefully you got something out of that. Feel free to comment. I'll try to help you out if you're struggling. And if you need more basic support and you've watched this far in the video, it's kind of impressive. You have that kind of attention span for complicated stuff, and I would go check out the Primeagen. He has a good Vim LSP setup tutorial. Yeah, cheers.